This conference will
firefighter,
now be recorded.
to Michael Tenney Jr., thanking him for 7 years of dedicated service to the town as a firefighter.
I'll move approval.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. We'll start with action items. There's an elderly exemption that was pending from last week. Have you reviewed it?
No.
You did some research on this, right? About his assets, Chip? The elderly exemption for Phil, for Mr. Martin.
So that's all been approved. We went to the RA. I'll make a motion that we sign.
Huh? Yeah, so we don't need to do anything with it, right?
Well, you have to approve it
Right.
to continue it.
Yep. All right. So, all right. I'll move that we,
He already
Approve
moved.
Huh?
He already moved.
second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Does our signature need to go anywhere on it? Okay. The other two action items are the highway budget and the executive budget review. And we'll wait for them to come in. I'll move on to correspondence. There was only one item in all of the perfunctory paperwork, and it was just a letter dated October 27th, concerns for 19 Mile Brook and the RIB from Dave Ford. All the other things are just for your review.
That's nice.
Positive, right?
Thank you.
That's the thing on from Dave Ford.
Which one of these are you copying? Are you the administrative assistant or the administrative secretary?
I'm the second.
You're secretary?
Yeah.
Do you want me to continue and you do two things at once, or?
That's fine.
Have you read the correspondence from Tyler Phillips from Headwater Consultants, reference Lake Road? This document here.
think we,
Yeah.
we saw that yesterday, right?
No, it's
Oh, this is
a
new?
new one. He's
Yes.
answered me.
Nope.
He asked
Yep, okay. I haven't seen
me
it.
in your file.
Hmm?
It should be in your file, underneath my notes.
In here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Have you reviewed that? It's in your folder.
I'm sorry, what?
Have you reviewed this? It's in your folder. Lake Road,
Right,
we wanted to move that ahead of,
right,
and he gave some estimates.
right. That's where I come up with 100.
Yep,
I've got a copy of this.
okay. Is that what we want to make sure that Lake Road culvert wall and dredging is changed to 190 on the CIP?
What was the cost of living increase?
1.3.
1.3. That's already reflected in the,
Did you
Yes.
print it?
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh.
Yeah. Thank you.
We're doing this right now. Yep.
I'm ready.
He's reviewing it. The facts are that his estimate for cost of construction costs for 300 feet long bulkhead on Lake Road is 150 to 190,000. He would estimate that our fees for design, wetland permit application and preparation, and the shoreline permit would be 15 to 20,000.
All right, and what do we have as a placeholder as a project in there?
The CIP under 2023 put 160,000.
I'd bump it to 190.
Yeah, I'm comfortable putting together a warrant article for 109, which would please, I think, it would probably cover any sort of walkway to do as well.
Sure. Is that something we want to consider in 2021?
But I think we gotta put it up there because,
Well, I think we could think about it,
yeah,
but
I'll put a question mark there on the capital improvement.
oh, okay.
well, if, my thought is, if we're looking at an article for the police facility, then we need to focus our
Yes.
efforts on that. I mean, if we're not going to do the facility this year, then I agree that it
Yes.
probably makes sense to do it.
So what I've done is I put a question mark on that line. So
Yeah.
at the next CIP meeting, I'll run it by you guys of what you want me to tell the
Well,
CIP committee. It's got to be at least 190 in
Well,
there.
yeah, I guess my thought is they can leave it where they have it in the schedule, give them an updated estimate on the cost and go from there. But in terms of whether we're going to put it on the warrant this year or not, that depends upon a lot of things.
Sure. We'll take a break.
Couldn't find the door.
Hi, Jim. Never better. How about you? Yes, it does. A little black ice out there this morning, a few places. Kathy said she was following somebody on Sodom Road that drove right off the road.
Yeah.
Yep. It wasn't you, was it?
No.
The little green people. Young kid.
Who's? Oh, yeah, yeah. Yep. Well,
Just a moment, Chip was talking about.
I haven't been in that situation for a number of years, but, you know, it's going on 15 years since I had a crew of people, but it's just, you know, getting people to show up for work is tough. Yeah, well, I'm not surprised, but I mean, it's like everybody wants a job, but oh, I got to be there at 7:30 in the morning and I got to be there 5 days in a row. You know, it's like, it's a struggle. When you get good guys, you want to hold on to them, right? Yeah. Well, you know, part of it is the work environment. If you treat people right, that helps. It's not a guarantee, but I always used to say, I'm looking for 3 things in somebody that takes a job. They're going to show up for work every time they're scheduled. They're going to be willing to learn the job. I'm happy. I just soon have somebody who knows nothing. We'll train them to do the job the way we want it done. And the third thing is they have the capacity to learn the job and do it. So, you know, other than that,
For me, another one is, gotta be honest.
oh yeah,
This person,
yep, no, yep, yep,
apologize,
No problem.
was
Yes.
significantly more important.
I would hope so, sir. I would hope so.
more important than Lloyd.
She's a classmate of mine, and you're absolutely correct. One other thing under correspondence. This is the public hearing notice. Have you read it?
That's going to go in the paper, right? For the right of way.
So I did contact her. She said, yes, it used to be Monday, but it changed in January to Friday. So I'm going to put it in this Friday.
Yep.
It'll run for.
Okay, we need to vote on having that put in.
We did, I thought. Didn't we vote yesterday?
You read it
Yep.
already?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, next item of business is our road agent, Jim Bean. Welcome, sir. I know winter is here. You guys have been out, so. Okay.
Yep.
We're 6 feet apart, so I don't know how you feel about your mask. I just want the microphone to be able to pick you up, that's all. So, would you like to begin, or do we start asking you questions?
Like I can start with the first case.
Go ahead, sir.
Since last time we met, we've had these are problem areas that we've had to work with. And somebody that's working on it, taking care of some of it for us already.
Is that the local beaver trapper we've used in the past? Yeah. He's still doing a good job, right?
Yes.
Yep.
The best around for sure.
Yep.
We're working on the road grading. Checking culverts for debris and making a list for the flushing. We usually have a few that have to be flushed out for the winter. They're not too bad so far this year. From what we've seen. We didn't have a lot of rain this year, so. We just got some of the signposts. We picked up the town truck from the dealership that bought it. They said there was nothing wrong with the transmission, but they reprogrammed it with a performance mode for like $500 something. But there's nothing wrong with it.
So it's now in the,
What's that? Go faster? Well, my opinion is there was a problem with it, and it's happened to a lot of them. So they came up with this whole thing about a performance mode that they put in it cures that problem. That's my opinion, but who knows? It does seem like it fixed the problem. It's noticeable, so. It was fixed. While I was there, we also had a PM service done, did all the oil filters, changed the grease, and went through the whole thing, the whole truck. $2 an hour. So the bill came out to $2,500.
You know, somebody was questioning yesterday that we're paying $150 an hour at the marina for shop rate. And I said, yeah. I said, I wonder what we're paying for an auto repair shop, 163, right? Well, you know, it's just, stuff is more expensive than it used to be. I mean, that's just what it is. Yep. Lights in the truck. I know you were doing some wiring issues, right, with the rear lights.
So we have that all squared away. They went through it all, checked the peaks as well. I think the lights are all in good shape. The only thing left that we noticed is to, get a little bit more welding on the back body, but it's not anything that will make the truck not work. But some that should be done just to get a little bit light on it. Shouldn't be long. It's like, less than a day project.
What do we do with the six-wheeler, or we still anything around?
What's that? The six-wheeler?
It's gone.
Been gone for a long time. We gave that away.
So we have one.
And we're looking at potentially replacing that in 2022. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep. So technically, I guess we did
Mhm.
which, I don't know, I think it will do it. Just the back body is it's soft spot on it right now, but I think it gives you more use. Also, we cleaned up the ditch lines on Lang Pond Road. And we also cleaned up the ditch lines on Canaan Road. Those were kind of bad on the side of the hill. Particularly because they were full of sand. We have to sand so much to get up and down the hills. They just were full of sand. We put away the catching tables. And we also started excavating the ditch lines on Millen Road. We've been graveling the low road edges. And there are quite a few low road edges that still really should be gravelled. Unfortunately, I don't see the budget for it. I just don't think we have it. But they are kind of doing this at the moment spots. It also helps protect the edges from breaking away.
Right.
Gravel up. That's what I have. It's for about
You have about $144,000 left in your budget.
Yep. It's gonna be tight. It's a lot of work. I'd like to do it, but I just don't see it being able to. Budget for it.
Well, I know when I sat down with you, we went over the last couple of years. In the month of November and December, there are 5 storm incidents. I mean, you had one today, right? With black ice condition. It's going to be tight. And you have some sand and salt in, but
Yeah, it's not everything doesn't, basically everything at this point goes on the winter budget. Turn in November, we burned up our fall budget, so like today, I've got guys out picking up down trees and branches all over town. That's gotta go into the winter budget at this point, where we're at. So anything more we do this year is all on the winter budget.
I guess, in my opinion, it goes where you normally put it. So if that stuff, because if it's what you consider winter, then put it in winter, not where you got money. If it's what you consider fall maintenance, put it in fall, regardless. But it doesn't matter. The reason those categories are there is so we can understand what the costs are. right?
The
So,
only way we can adjust,
It's an accounting statement.
the only way we can adjust the budget realistically is if we know the expense is higher. So if you skew the budget into some other category, we don't know that, tree work is more expensive than. So if the line goes over, that's good, because now we can look at, shall we adjust the line upwards? Was there a special occasion?
Being said, I had a bill for the repairs and the pavement and stuff like that, that we had, that came in at $14,000. I didn't really have budget area to fly for that. I ended up kind of taking out of 2 different accounts. Where I am. If we don't have a,
No, even if you, let's take a line, for example, you've got road prep and repair, 0 budget. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You can still spend money on that line.
that's a one article.
No, it's right here. I'm looking at it.
This year, it was a warrant article.
well, and I'm going to suggest that
But
it
he's
stay
already
there.
done what he's done. So what I'm saying is going forward, if that occurred again,
That's what.
even though there's no money on that line, you still should put the expense there. The expense what?
I was told you can't do that on a warrant article.
No, you can't on a warrant article.
Yeah. And that's is that particular.
But you can't overspend a warrant article either.
No, you can't. Well, you can overspend it, but with money from someplace else. So you cannot,
I don't know that we can.
you cannot, we can move money any place except out of a special article. So if we have $50,000 in a special article, we can only spend it on what that's approved for.
Yes.
But we can spend 75 against that line as long as we can find money from someplace else. So we can move money into us.
Sure.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
happy with that.
Yep, you can move money in, you just can't move it out. So that's,
You can't take money out of road paving and buy a fire truck with it.
right, because that's a special article, right?
No, I just didn't know whether.
Yeah.
I'm informed now.
Well, and it hadn't always been done that way.
Your suggestion to Jim would be, even though you've run out of money in the warrant article, you still put the expense against it.
If that's an expense that falls under that, I would, yes, that's where we ought to put it, okay? And we'll have to make sure that we have money someplace else to cover it, because all that was appropriated there was what was the amount. But like anything else in the budget, the benefit to putting the cost where it actually is then when we look back, we have a true picture of what we're spending. And we're not saying, well, we appropriated $230,000 and we spent $230,000 when we actually spent $250 because we had to bury someplace else.
The caveat to that is that if you're pushing an expense against a warrant article, that's a special occurrence. Whereas if this is genuine maintenance that he's doing.
General maintenance, it shouldn't go, right, right.
Because that might be, part of that would be considered general maintenance, I guess, where we patched.
Right.
Shirley Way.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you find a line where it seems to fit, and that's where it goes.
Okay.
I mean, I'm glad we've got road prep as a line now.
Well, so we used to have, years ago, we had road prep as a line in the budget. And then one year, the budget committee didn't want it there and moved it over to the paving warrant article. So since then, it's been, that 50,000 has been included as part of the paving warrant article. We can put it any place, but if we keep moving it back and forth, then when we look at history, it skews it, because suddenly one year we're spending 50,000 more, the next year we're.
And it could be, and I'm kind of working on my defense for the.
Yep.
budget committee. But it could be that we do road prep for next year's paving.
Correct.
So why do we want to mix years in our warrant? It just doesn't make any sense.
Well,
What happened when it went to the, what happened when it went to the warrant article is there were several of the hateful eight that insisted on it. And the chairman who sat in your chair, what difference does it make because they're not cutting the bottom line? It just wasn't worth fighting over.
well, it was a year when a bunch of stuff got pushed off so they could make the budget look great. So they got pushed from the budget into warrant articles.
Optics.
It's just, we have to be able to have a reasonably coherent explanation about, I mean, the paving budget's going up. You know it is. So, and we've moved that back into the operating budget. So the number paving and road cut should have some comparison to what we normally spend.
Right.
Historically.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
To show you how Jim has worked on this budget here, I sat down with him and we reviewed the last 3 years and we found that we were, as a system, we're sticking tree and brush removal in 5 different accounts. And that's why working with him, he came up with tree removal this year and he'll explain to you, he got it for half price. He put it out to bid.
So
Am I right?
I know we talked about it before with respect to spending money, okay? Let me take another run at it. You put a budget together based upon your best estimate of what each of these things is going to cost. But to help us inform you and us inform going forward, we need to put the expense where it actually falls. And as long as it's within the total amount of money you have available to you, that's great. You see what I'm saying? So if we say we're going to spend $85,000 on summer maintenance and it only costs us 75, that's great. And that means we have money available there that can be spent someplace else within your budget. But if we spend 90 instead of 85, we need to charge that 90 to that line, or we don't have a good record of how much we spent on summer maintenance. And then next year, we come look at it and it's like, yeah, exactly. It's a way that we justify what we budget going forward.
And I know you'll be at the budget meeting when we're talking about the road agent's budget. But if we just look at the numbers that are on the page right here, you're showing a 12% increase year to year. That's income.
Just,
But if you back the $50,000 out, which usually is in a warrant article, now you're at a 5% increase, which is pretty small.
Yeah.
So it's being able to walk through that with the budget committee so they understand what's happening. We're not just jacking the budget to 12%.
Yeah, I know, and I knew for sure that's gonna have to be explained.
Yeah.
Wasn't there.
Yeah, because you got a total increase of $78,000, $50,000. It's just moving from one place to another place. So we normally do. That works.
so Diane gives you this, right? The 5-year history.
Yeah, that's nothing new. I mean, I don't have the newest one apparently,
You don't have that? That's the 5-year history by individual accounts. Well, so that's what we look at. Part of what we look at when a budget is presented was it tells us, going back the last 5 years, what we spent in each one of these budgets.
Yeah, I have one like that, but the newest one I have is just, I don't have the lines, it's where I'm at.
Oh yeah, that's your expense report. This is the 5-year history. Yeah. Yep. So, and she ought to be giving everybody a copy of that when they're developing their budgets. And not just us,
And that gets,
right?
because what you're showing is you spent $440,000 $42,000 required this year. $590,000 budget. So what can we cut? You know, so we have to go over that hurdle first, and then to justify an additional $75,000 or $78,000. 50 of that, 78, as I said.
And I will make my pitch again for moving that 50,000 road prep and repair back to the warrant article.
You're gonna pitch that?
I'm gonna pitch that. That's where it's been the last several years. And
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll say, let's move back to the warrant article.
Yep.
I'm fine with that. I'm gonna keep a road prep line here, even if we just put $1,000 there.
I'm good with that, absolutely. With the understanding that this road prep, or call it road repair or whatever, is what we use for like doing Shirley Way and little patches and stuff. The road prep and repair that we typically put in the warrant article is the stuff you're talking about, all the culverts and the tree removal and all this to get ready to pave.
Can we put, say, 30,000 back into the warrant article, put 20,000 under my budget line, so that
No.
we can plan for next year?
So here's,
So
I think this is where you're going, where I am. Let's put a new line in here and we'll put some money in. And then you start spending against that based upon what you're actually experiencing. So if we put $1,000 in and it turns out that it's $10,000 to do all this patching work, then you come to budget next year and you say, this is what it really costs this year to do this work.
that's a number you're gonna pick. It's just a number that feels good. We need a number that's real. So if we put $1,000 in that, as Bill said, you end up spending $10,000. Well, next year when we're talking $10,000.
And again, if you want more than 1,000, we'll put 2,500 in, but
And you don't want to break that warrant article out, because those jobs should be figured on what they're actually going to cost. This line should be, okay, the drainage by the across from the Tuftsboro store needed to be repaved. Or somebody went off the road, Ledge Hill Road, and had to rebuild it. So it's stuff that is not normal operating highway business. Warrant articles, on the other hand, are a systematic approach to upgrading the paving and so it's different animals as far as I'm concerned. But I will agree with you. Let's move it back. I'm okay with it. It's just, I think Jim needs to feel comfortable overspending the line without really yelling at him. If you will overspend the line, I know you will.
Yeah.
But that's okay the first year.
Does it have to come back out of somewhere else? I don't know how that works. On total, my bottom line is
It ends up, well, it's the same thing with fall and spring. If you overspend those. But the number I'm looking at is the bottom line number. You still got $150,000 left in your total budget. So in today's exercises, we're going to adjust things so that next year you don't overspend, but next year you will overspend on something. I know you will.
But at least we know that we have a line that shows us what's going on.
right. So we start, and the other side of that is the pavement repair that you used to charge someplace else is going to go against this new line, right?
Yep. We
So,
know we're going to have pavement repair next year too.
right. So, okay, so,
42 miles of paved road.
so along the way, before you had a separate line you could charge it against, where'd you put it? Someplace else, right?
Yep.
So if we move it into this new line and we start capturing what it costs us to do that pavement repair, that'll be reflected favorably in one of the other lines, right?
It's like when your business manager or your secretary puts $10,000 in the postage line. You just might, because there's probably $10,000 in their bank account. So you need to keep the numbers where they belong. And you can just look at this and get a snapshot of it. Notes. I mean, I went through this in like 3 minutes and figured out what's happening. It's an exercise that you can do. Not just looking at this.
Well, because I'm gonna go clearly over this year in fall.
Yeah.
Put an extra $5,000 in this year. For next year.
Yeah, I saw that. We didn't talk about that. But it's like tree removal. I mean, you get a week like yesterday, and your tree line's gonna go out of sight. There's trees all over the road. And I guess I was gonna go on.
Sure.
We've agreed we're gonna move the 50 grand back into a warrant.
Into the paving warrant article, right?
Um,
And I'm going to suggest we call this the road repair, that this 22-680 just be called road repair.
Leave the prep.
Yep. And what's your pleasure for how much to put in there as a placeholder?
I'm thinking, I don't know how much it's gonna be, so I'd say, let's keep it reasonable, and put $1,000.
Makes sense to me.
Next year, the budget committee can yell at us, or yell at me, they don't yell at me.
Okay.
The general expenses are going down for what reason? Down $300.
So we basically, we're just looking at the past, I guess, the history, and then thought that would be pretty fast.
Well, there's a couple of reasons. You just had the trucks checked out, stem to stern. You put thousands of dollars into that, refixing this and refixing that. The other thing is you have 2 brand new Sanders that aren't breaking down.
Right, and I mean, 3788, 57.
Right.
But it appears as though.
So your equipment maintenance line, you're looking to make it the same as what we budgeted this year, which is less than we spent in 3 of the past 5 years. I'm not saying you want to raise it. I'm just saying that last year we spent 22 and change. The year before we spent 32 and change. This year we have 20 budgeted, and so far you spent 11,000 plus what you spent last week that isn't here. I'm not saying drive it up. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the replacement of the Sanders and getting rid of the 6-wheeler, these other things.
No, yeah, could be.
Drop down.
It's definitely not no line, so, I mean, it's a good place to be at.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Well, it's 3% is pretty good. Get a firm number on the that's going up $2 grand.
Yes, that was a proposal.
That's.
And you have it in writing?
I do.
Make sure you include that in your package.
We could spend the afternoon talking about avoiding tree removal, but maybe we should just.
I think we've already just agreed that 25 grand in there is, we'll go there this year. And,
We just don't know if we're gonna get the same deal next year. Hope so.
well,
Well,
yep,
I mean, you got $25,000. That's what you get to spend. So.
yep.
Apron paving. Added 2,500 to that. Yeah, I have a meeting tomorrow. Yeah. Actually, get some places. So I don't have a firm number. Of it. $2,500 for maybe this year.
So we didn't do any in 2017, 2018, or 2019, and we did 5,000 worth this year. So I guess that's,
And I took that money from apron paving to pay for those snow blowers. That's how I paid for road
well,
repairs.
okay, all right.
We have a number of
Again, but-
aprons and intersections that need to be made safer. And you've listed a few. What are some of the ones you've listed?
I mean, the most she spent was 73 bucks.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So the ones that I'm gonna have a price on, I'm gonna get a price on.
Let me ask you, I'll ask you,
Curtis Road, which is dirt, all the way up to the pavement.
Right.
To the 10.
And you need to go, what, 50 feet?
That, and then also, the intersection of Lamprey Lane goes up line.
Yes.
One half is paved and not the other half is. I think we want to pave both, because it's kind of, that's a kind of intersection. Around the corner, it's taking off. I think we want to pave that too. And then also, we talked about, we wanted to widen up the area in front of the town. This is pretty narrow. It's, you know,
Either that or just put delineators at the side of the pavement and then people will have to drive between the lines. But, yeah, no, that one I know has been on the radar for a number of years.
what happened to the transfer station that you and I talked about?
I am going to be a person back to, I don't know if that's a separate project or not. That's still apron, or if that's to fit something else.
And what about Lang Pond Road?
I know we talked about going up a little bit further with the cable. Honestly, it should go right to the top of the hill. That's kind of an area where we struggle with the water washing up both sides. We should have pitch to one side. And there's a driveway there with no culvert. It gets too narrow.
That's part of, in my opinion, that's part of the road paving. That's a road paving project going at the top of that hill. That's, as opposed to just, you know,
It's like
50 feet.
It's 200 feet, I'm guessing, pavement to continue up to the hill.
Only 200 feet? Wow.
Yeah, because it's paved little ways like that. We've already got probably 700 feet.
Yeah.
We just need to get up past that driveway. I think would help us a lot. We ditched it this year. That ditching is, it's tough because we just, there's no room. We're right up against the pump. And like those ones, it's we struggle with that every year.
I have two other questions. Who's going to correct the lack of paving that was done for the drainage in the manhole, the catch basin on North Line Road intersection with Ledge Hill Road? That wasn't done correctly.
I asked Frank about that. He said that's the way it was before. And I did say, and I thought it was surrounded. It was not. Absolutely, it's not paved all the way around it, so we put it back where it was. So I said, well, contract for you, it works. But it doesn't.
And what about the swale we put money aside for on Durgan Road? That's not even 1/3 done.
So we did the important part, because I mean, she's talking about the water going across the road by that intersection. When we put that money in, a budget just paid a year ago, prices have gone up. That didn't pay the front. So I put the prep money also that it took to excavate that out, shoot grades, put gravel and compact it so that they could be into that too. There was no way that we had the money to go all the way down. And the 7,500 wasn't gonna even do it. It's just the prices are only good for 60 days, not to get. We did a third of it. I think, see what that does. That doesn't correct it. To correct it in the future. I think that's going to be the biggest part of it. As we know, the drainage coming out of that basement is probably the culprit.
I guess what I'm looking, and I apologize.
No, no problem.
There's just so much uncertainty here. I would, and I'm just gonna throw this out. I would rather put 2,500 bucks in just to each meeting. And then allocate like the highway fund money that we get or some other block of money to those projects. There's no way in the world you're gonna pay what you just described. It's Curtis Road,
Lang Pond Road.
Lang Pond Road, and these others. There's no way in the world you're gonna do that. So,
Oh, no, no. We don't know what the price is going to be.
there's no, yeah. It needs to be just a little more certain. for me to do. I mean, why put 7,500 bucks on it? Why not put zero?
I think that's the number that we've used for a long time, I guess. We've done some people, we've done some of these. I mean, Sentinel Road, it worked for those
Well, it
situations.
is,
Right.
it's certainly easier for us to get comfortable with your putting a number in there when you can sit down with us and say, here's what I plan to do. This is going to cost such and such. This is going to cost such and such. This is going to cost such and such. And I put a little extra in because of contingency, as opposed to I have a bunch of projects and we're going to get what we can get done. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, if you combine the.
So you're going to get some numbers from whoever.
I thought I had numbers coming from another company.
Yeah. Is that Lake Treaton? Yeah. So too busy, I guess. All right.
We're not done with this. I
Hmm?
mean, I look at the $10,000 that's going into spring farm. And think, why don't we put $17,000 into spring farm? So it's not including what's actually happening. Spring and fall have never gone even close to 29, 34, 30, 41.
Well, we have a lot of ditch cleaning to do, it's, things that's gotta come from some.
Yeah.
It's called, Jim, you and I've had this conversation. You clean ditches 4 seasons a year. And you need to clean ditches like we do tree removal. This year you have spent $25,000 to $26,000 on tree removal. And you have found a company that will do it next year for half price. Good deal. You need to do that on every single line. Let's talk winter maintenance if I can, and I don't mean to rant. It isn't just the purchase of sand and salt. It's the truck to go get it. It's the loader to mix it, to load the trucks. And we just put a category under winter. Don't we? Yes. Thank you for listening.
I guess I think we're ready to approve this budget. I just don't think so. Jim's got to get that number together for April meeting. I got to be able to defend this budget committee. And let's say that the project you feel you can get done in 2021 amount to 15 or 17,000 groups. Then we need to look at it and say, okay, we're gonna go to 37.5. Rather than 40, we'll bump it up. And we'll put the other $5,000 to that apron fee. We gotta move some money around. I don't know if we're gonna have to read, but I don't know that you're gonna get all of those projects.
Well, I don't know that you guys want to spend that much money to do all those projects. I'm not gonna put those ahead of things that are.
You got a lot of work to do, and I mean, pick one or pick two, that's this year. And then pick one. Like Curtis Road has been, Curtis Road has
Long as you and I've been
been. a
around.
long time.
I remember when I was a kid, that was big. It was a big road.
Curtis
Holly
Road
Hutchins
was?
lived in it there.
Because when we used to back up for Holly Curtis, there was a funky old paved road.
Huh.
Yep, it was tar.
Well, it's a nice dirt road right now. We gotta leave it that way for another year. Because,
Well,
I mean, we're 90% there. I just don't know.
You
that-
guys want to pick a road?
Well, it's kind of like with the trees, okay? You've got a number of places you've identified that doing some paving makes sense. And so we're behind maybe where we'd like to be, but if we put a program together, say we're gonna do a third of them next year, or half of them next year, and half of them the year after, just, you've got all these things in mind, and I don't know what the right number to add in a year is. When we take what you presented here and put the road prep back in a warrant article, your budget is up about 3% from what we spent last year. We spent 606 last year, and we're looking at 624, all right? So that's 3% over what we spent. It's more than that over what we budgeted for this year. But, and that's, my opinion is a better way to go forward than throwing big chunks in. And that, but again, that 3% that I just calculated, that included the $7,500 you got in here for apron paving and these other plus ups. If the budget committee gets into it, they're going to be asking you, well, you know, how come we need this much more than what we had this year? That's where you're being able to detail out for them. This is why I need this much more money here. Stuff that either we spent the money on this year that we didn't have budgeted, and it's important to do it next year, or, you know, it's part of a plan I'm working on to improve intersections, and so I'm going to put $7,500 worth of paving in these intersections this year, and these are the ones, and then I got some for the next year, and that sort of thing. In general, I think people buy the longer term approach to getting there more than we're going to do it all in 1 year.
Yeah, a list of 10 of these aprons, 8 or whatever they are. Then just isolate, say, okay, next year we're gonna do Lamprey Lane because that makes a lot of sense. We're gonna do Flying Pond Road because that makes a lot of sense. It's gonna solve some washout issues. And then in 2022, we'll do some of these other things. So it becomes a program. But you need to know what that is.
You drive a truck with a trailer on it. The transfer station entrance on 171. 300 residents travel to that facility every day that it's open. That 600 vehicles pass through that intersection each week, right? There are many vehicles with trailers. There's also large service vehicles like dump trucks, the power line equipment that have trailers and whatnot. Also, what about the tractor trailers that go in and out and lug the trash in and out? Is that a safe intersection as it sits there now?
I don't think it's perfect.
Is it 90 degrees to the road? Would you build an intersection like that in your 30 years of contracting business? Would he? Absolutely not.
Well, we have other intersections in town that are more traveled than that aren't 90-degree
But
intersections.
even so, avoid is redesigning that intersection. Different animal capable, from my estimation.
Yes.
You shouldn't go out there and pave.
If we're gonna redesign an intersection, my opinion is you hire an engineer to do the design.
Go through that whole
Right.
process, and I think it would probably make sense, but I think that's what we.
Yeah.
Sure.
It may save us money in the long run.
May I change subjects entirely? Let's talk about culverts. There was a culvert study done in 2017. There's 222 culverts in town. 32 that were in failure, 29 that were in poor condition and need repair, and there were 19 that were poor or serviceable. Let's say that they were full of bullshit and they were only half correct. That's a couple of dozen that need to be repaired, right? To repair a culvert, a precast header is $1,200 times 2, correct? An 18-inch pipe is $600, correct? Fill is $300. Now, we can save some money with PGA, and it's been used in town successfully. I haven't figured in the equipment that digs and moves and all that. Well, how many culverts are we going to fix for $2,500?
So the $2,500 is strictly buying the culvert. That's how that's been budgeted.
Yeah,
They've always been.
That's
We
just
don't have a
talk.
budget line for actually changing culverts. It goes under, whatever time we do it, it changes in the spring, it goes in the spring. If we do it in the summer, it goes in the summer. Or if we're doing it on a road that's for road prep, it goes in the road prep. For paving.
well, let's go to Lloyd's point. I mean,
Yep.
let's say we did that road repair and culvert. Let's make it road repair and culvert. And that's some money for culvert repair, but at $3,000 a culvert, which is the number you just came up with. How much money are we gonna put it? You're certainly not gonna put $100,000.
Why did we do the culvert study?
Well, now you've done a number of those culverts already, right? A num-
They've been corrected. But at least we have a list and we know. To
As we go through the, I mean, we haven't moved much on the roads, which still drives me. But as we do a section road, let's say north, the culvert gets repaired when we do the road. And I think the same is true on Dane Road. So as we move around town doing our pavement project, hopefully we're picking up these culverts as we go. That's part of it.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's important that we stay aware of that culvert study. You know, just, so it was a nice,
No, I will get that updated, but, yeah, no, I don't think we're anywhere near as bad a shape as we were 2 years ago. That's pretty good progress, but
yeah, and I
obviously
think
there's
that's
still more to go.
we need to update it so that we can look at it, hey, this is what we've done. And how long it's taken us to do it. We spend a little more money next year. It's too late this year to do that. And put another plug in for my secretarial assistant. That's the sort of thing that you should.
And that's the first thing I'd love to have her do is we have our paperwork. It's just, I guess, communicating.
Yeah, offload so that you can say with authority, this is how long it's taken us to do this. If we spend X amount of money, this is what we can do.
I have my part down. It's just getting it transferred over to Lakes Region.
Yeah.
Last time they did that, they were still moving, they changed all the numbers.
Right.
So they made ours wrong. It's ready to do.
How do you want to handle the highway budget? Do you want to vote on something today, or do you want to wait until it gets something put together?
What do you guys want to do? What are you guys comfortable with?
I'm I'm happy with voting on a budget today. But I do think that some of this stuff that you're waiting on pricing on between now, my vote in support of, let's say, apron paving is contingent on your getting a good understanding of of what those costs are. And you're going to go to budget committee and they're going to say, well, what's this? And you're going to say, these are the projects that I'm planning to do this year with apron paving, and here's what my current cost is on it.
For example, Jim, you listed under apron paving, transfer station, Piper House, Curtis Road, Lamprey Lane, and Lang Pond Road. Is it clear what the board agrees with and what the board disagrees with? Is it clear in your mind that which one the Board of Selectmen support and which ones they don't?
Well, I feel like certainly you can probably vote on that and decide which way the transfer station goes. I don't know about the apron paving in front of that office, if that's something you guys are interested in.
So
Do you want us to tell you today? We'll take a vote on those.
So my opinion is, if you say you need $7,500 to do apron and intersection paving work, that all of the things you have envisioned are not going to fit into this year. Some are going to go this year, some are going to go next year. And that the ones that you would want to do this year are ones that for some reason are higher, you believe are a higher priority from a road maintenance and safety standpoint. And I'm comfortable with your saying, these are the ones I'm going to do. And I do agree with Chip that if we're talking about changing the intersection at the transfer station, that is a separate project outside of this. You know, it's not just adding a little pavement in the corner. It's now, you know, realigning that intersection. And I have not done any road engineering, and I don't want to start now. I don't feel qualified to do it. I think that's something we have to hire somebody to redesign that, and probably need the state's involvement too, because it's a state highway.
Okay, so that we're gonna get something on, Lamprey Lane first. Just weren't sure how it's.
Well, when I think top of the hill on Lang Pond, I wasn't thinking 200 feet.
That's a guess. I didn't think it yet. I'll probably get measured.
I
It's
was
over
thinking,
100 feet.
I was thinking a quarter of a mile up the hill. That to me is looking more like a road paving project. But in a way, we're getting a little far into the weeds at this point. If you have a bunch of projects and you get somebody to price them for you, and then you determine the order you want to do them in, we'll sit down and talk about it after that. And if there's strong disagreement on the board, we'll reorient things. You're out there on the roads every day. You know those roads a lot better than I do. And even if I drove over them all the time, you look at them with a different eye, because you're plowing them, you're grading them, you're cleaning ditches, all of the stuff that as somebody just driving by, I don't even see that. So you're looking at it from a standpoint of safety of travel, as well as proper maintenance and safety for the road crew. Those are dimensions beyond where I'm at.
I guess my point on this is, I don't believe your spring and fall maintenance numbers are good. I think you've loaded money in that. They should know where else to put it.
No, actually, I think you're wrong. I think probably have not put in the direct numbers because I knew it was too low.
We gotta look at that. But my preference would be to take 5,000 of that spring fall increase and put it into apron fee. Now you got $12,500, a number you can actually use. Got 37.5 in spring and 37.5 in fall.
We've added it. Well, good. That's great. And you gotta get lines and all that. So I don't think the numbers are bad.
Well, I'll tell you what,
Going up $2,500.
So we're horse trading here is what we're doing. You understand that? So we're gonna come up with something that comes out of here that if you think it's wrong, you can plead your case to the budget committee. I'm not trying to be hard about it, but
Well, I get that.
so, and you may, and okay, we got Welland Road is gonna add extra maintenance. That's an easy way to say, an extra 2,500 per. And if it comes out to more than that next year, then you have 2 years worth of experience at more than what's in the budget to base it on with another increase in the following year. That's my perspective.
You know, because I guess sometimes I think maybe the winter number, you go down, look, the spring. You don't see the help, you know, honest numbers.
I would feel more comfortable with all of this if you consistently charged stuff where it should go and not where there was money. And we know that winter maintenance is going to vary around based upon storms. Okay, but when we're over in winter and we still got winter stuff to do and we're charging someplace else because we're over, then that's not giving us a good sense for how much variation there might be in the real world. You know what I'm saying? So,
And every year we try to fine tune this as best we can. We're a lot better than we were 4 years ago. I know we are. Using our calculation, we got a 5% increase year to year in the budget. Maybe if you can go a couple of years and look at this budget doesn't need to be that high. Maybe we do make those shifts to spring. But I think $623,000 is enough. We now have better sign budget, better tree budget, better paper budget. So you got areas where you've made your case that you need a little more money to make something happen. Boyd's made a good case on the tree and the things. Perhaps $10,000 isn't enough, but at least we'll find out. And every year it's going to be a struggle, but I think to ask for a 12% increase is just too.
I will say there are calls about tree removal. There's just so many dead ones. They want one of their house.
Window taking.
yeah,
We actually have a branch that came loose, but it's still hanging. It's not attached to anything. Caleb actually, the fire department called and said, if that thing goes down like a table, now we gotta get somebody in the bucket. They don't think I get that.
it's in the wires.
It's not in the wires.
We're in the wires. Go up.
yeah, that's right. So in the wires is somebody else's.
Jim, I agree 100% on what my brother selectmen are saying. Do not take this as a criticism because you and I have had lengthy conversations. For 2 years, I've taken every single one of your bills. And I can tell you how many hours your backhoe was spent moving sand and salt around and putting it in your dump trucks. I can tell you how many hours each of your 4 excavators worked and where they worked. I can tell you how many hours of beaver control you've done. I can tell you how many hours of removing branches and trees and dead trees and whatnot. And for 2 years, the time we spent on just marking goddamn trees. I have that notebook available. And the days of, in my mind, of having 4 seasonal categories and having Diane just stick it wherever she's told to stick it, we have very slowly gone to signs, apron paving, culverts, road repairs, tree removal, and we're going to continue. It's part of the maturation process. I will make a comment. I asked you last year about the project at Durgan Hill Road. That was a project, that and Zadidar Farms. You and I talked about that before Durgan Road was paved. And those 2 projects still aren't completed, are they? Zadidar Farms, the culvert is collapsing. Remember we talked about it?
Culverts, that was what you said. Well,
That's right.
culvert, unfortunately, when they put that in, they put a metal one.
Right, but my point is, you and I talked about those projects before Durgan Road was paved.
Just didn't have the budget for it.
And I still don't see the budget for those 2 projects. Thank you for listening.
So I'm going to make a motion.
Can I
Are
ask
you?
a question? Where are you gonna put your secretary's expenses? You're gonna have a line on it, because she's gonna do her time card, or unless you wanna charge her, she's gonna do her time. Diane is having her do a time card for whatever department she works at. So if she's gonna work in there, we need to add a line.
But you could just do a detail on the line for that secretarial line. I don't think we're ready to start, because we don't know how much is gonna happen. So I think just, we'll tell Diane that
I
this
think
year,
we'll
just do a
put it
detail.
in executive this year and or administrative, and we can keep track. And if he uses $1,000 a year worth or whatever, then we can add a line next year. We've
No,
got
that's fine
some.
with me. I'm just-
Yep. All right. So I'm going to make a motion that we approve general highways and streets 4312 for a total of $624,325.
624.
624,325 with the following adjustments from what Jim had presented. Under the road repair, make that $1,000. Under apron paving, make that 12,500. Spring and fall maintenance each at 37,500.
I came up with a different number. We were off by 100, but I'm doing it by hand.
Well, so
That's fine, I'll second.
What is spring and fall?
37.5. So we took $49,000 out of the budget, which was the 50,000 for road prep,
Yep.
less putting $1,000 in a line for road repair. So that's, I came
Oh,
out,
yeah, you're
so
right.
it's 624,
I had that for my total, and for some reason I wrote it different.
I apologize, what was either?
so
12.5.
apron paving is 12.5. So, and again, we're not asking you to adjust your submission. We're gonna, in the selectmen's request line, we'll just make that adjustment. So when you go to budget committee, all this stuff will be in there. What you requested, what we approved, which is a little different. And then the budget committee will do their magic with it from there.
Right.
And I may be way out in left field, but it's more money than you had in the budget this year. More money than you spent last year total. And see where we go.
Well, we're asking for it.
Well,
We're asking for it as well.
I'm sorry?
excuse me, we're asking him to do more.
Oh, yeah.
So it isn't
Yep.
just
Oh,
Jim getting rich.
question. We found Raymon's development.
No.
Not yet.
No.
Okay, just want to confirm that.
No.
He wanted to finish the construction or have the construction work done on the houses. And then we did the second, for the top floor.
Just as long as we're clear.
And Sandstrom Road. Have we worked a deal on Sandstrom Road?
Sandstrom. What's it?
You want to brief them?
We're getting to Brad. I can't remember his last name. No, that's on Sandstrom Road. He works at Bradley's Hardware.
Yeah.
Beyond where Ben Ladd used to live.
So, I remember Brad, he said he just retired. Congratulations, you know. I'm like, oh, maybe you want to file this time. He kind of considered it. So I'm hoping we can make a deal with him. Do that section, because it's just from Ben Ron's house to his house. If he can do that, then we just pay him, so we don't have to send a truck. all the way up.
So we're not making it.
No, that's road, yeah, that's,
So you're hiring a subcontractor to do that.
sure.
That's easy.
Okay.
Of course, you know, in the old days, back when the roads were all dirt, if you went back and looked at the town budget 110 years ago, road agent, there were lots of road agents. Basically, most people that had a significant piece of land maintained the road adjacent to their land, and their taxes were adjusted accordingly.
That was the way it all started.
Right,
If you got a granted land, you were required to build part of the road. And that's how we ended up with road agents, because
Right.
I'm a farmer. I'm not a road agent.
that's right.
We all got together and chose one guy to
Right.
do it.
So basically, if you look at at what was paid out to road agents, it amounted to an adjustment to taxes for all these farmers. So in consideration of paying less tax, he maintained the road in front of his property. So,
But then you got me plowing 400 feet of Ledge Hill Road. What happens then?
yeah,
And you just leave it at that.
I just leave it.
yeah.
The next guy pushes.
Well, I wonder how much winter maintenance used to get done.
The motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion as made, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Thank you, James.
Yep.
Good work.
Nice job.
Guys have, enjoy your rest of the day.
I do have a question on unrelated. One of our local gadflies asked me about the end of the ramp at Lake Road, where it's gotten kind of wallered out because of power loading. Is that something that you pull the gravel back in typically, or there's a big hole, I guess?
Oh, it's big again. Had that fixed.
You know, we ought to put a friggin' camera down there and a big fine. Power loading would charge you $500. It's just, you can't fix stupid is what it amounts to.
For a while.
Yeah.
And what we did was, instead of putting gravel, 6-inch lines.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it stayed pretty well.
Yep.
But then, the 6-inch minus was installed or just gravel?
Well, I have no idea. Anyway, I do know when I pull my boat out, and of course the water is so low. I mean, I got the back wheel of the trailer was right on the edge, and I know because I walked out there. I don't want to go over the lip because there's no way I'll pull it out, right? And yeah, no, that's right. And so, of course, I couldn't get it on the trailer quite right. Well,
The
apparently,
bottom
because
line is-
some other people that have had bigger problems.
He's never gone up on his
At
rates.
some point, if you get a chance, take a look at it, if we need to put
Okay.
bigger
The
stuff
other
back there
thing is-
anyway.
With the big
We got a
truck,
great ramp
the
now.
sand-
Unfortunately, the
roads are
water
open
is lower
4
than
hours earlier for you
than
to get the
a
contact.
lot of years this time. And
So
but you-
as much as.
it doesn't matter how good the ramp is.
I see the big picture.
Rather than putting the trailer in far enough, It's like,
And
okay,
we haven't even started. on
I'll just get to
aggregates.
the bunks and I'll
I'm
just,
sure I didn't-
if I can't
I
get it on
asked that
front,
question.
I'm gonna back up and I'm just gonna take another run at it and just pour the power on.
Possibly can have them.
Yeah, they do, they don't last as long. But that's a question. we'll talk
Yeah.
about.
And their guys are running them for the most part, right? Yeah, I know. So,
Jim.
but
I'm sorry.
no, that's good. So anyway, if there's a way that we can address it eloquently, then that'd be great.
Do something about that culvert that's right across my drive. To mark it. Because people fall in that every now and then. If you drive 50 feet from my driveway, every east, major culvert. There's no electric post, nothing.
So we have another one, not too far, just on that hill, just past, Brookline there. It's kind of like a big drop off. I'm always thinking that too. We have the linear post. I think that's a perfect spot to put a, catch basin in. You can kind of make it a little bit safer. We'll have to probably put a couple of culverts going into it to go over it.
Speaking of driveways,
Yes.
what is the status of the item we voted on about paving? Is that a bylaw change or a law change in the planning board or zoning board?
That's a zoning amendment. That goes on the ballot.
Okay.
Well, once it goes through the hearing and all that, we put it on the
No,
driveway.
paving driveways, so
Driveway,
he has to
paving.
keep correcting them
Yeah,
because
driveway permit. That becomes part of zoning and it's, if it passes, at town election.
Are you okay with the cell tower location there?
Yeah, because honestly, that's kind of where I thought it was gonna go when I talked to the guys when they were at the shop. They said, there's two choices, one behind the cell shop or way down over the hill, which is, then the thing's gotta be increased in height to make up for the 20-foot difference.
I'm not worried about it going down. Wall stand is just gonna wreck you.
So I'll shade it and get a new one.
Yeah.
Probably do it.
I checked on the technology, and you did too. Those cell towers now, if they collapse, they swing down and drop down. They don't go like a chimney, right?
Correct.
That's what the engineer says.
I just don't want to be underneath it.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I think they should have the technology pretty good at this point. I think there's enough of them out there.
You know, and if something goes wrong, that's what they got insurance for.
I want to end on a positive note. When you took over, we made a Jim Bean account, road agent account. And the reason for that is we were getting socked twice on some of the labor costs. Do you remember what those were? Is it like FICA and all the workman's comp?
This workman's comp is a big thing, and you know, I think most often say, wow, workman's comp is really expensive this year. And I couldn't figure out why. I mean, why? They were just taking like a percentage of the whole budget. Well, a quarter of it's got to be labor, or half of it's got to be labor.
$500 million budget.
And the other thing is, your employees are your employees, right?
Correct. That's what I said.
And
Well,
you
why you guys pay that on my employees? I would have to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're paying some insurance on them, right? Now that's you pay all the insurance on them.
Always did.
Yes. Now, the other thing is, you've been road agent how many years?
Since 2008.
And you've never gone up on your rates. And since you've had the big truck, my guys tell me, and people who drive kids to Conway early in the morning, that roads in Tuftonboro are open on the average 4 hours early.
Just saying.
4 hours earlier than ever before. Ambulance drivers tell me the same thing. So thank you.
I'm gonna get a cup of
Let's take a-
coffee and then.
Let's take a 5-minute break.
That's fine.
What do you want to do about executive. I'm gonna
This
remember you
conference
in it.
will now be recorded.
Yes, I'm going to remember you in it. It's going to say, hi, Chip.
Hi, Chip. Good to see you.
I'm just crazy enough to do that, too. Can I talk about some administrative secretary updates? We've done Tyler and the Lake Road. Will Warren sent the public hearing notice, and she adjusted the dates. Doug Mansfield, Verizon Wireless, the chief and the road agent were sent the information. Joint Loss Committee, November 18th, to accommodate you, and Milfoil meeting, November 9th.
Who is setting those meetings up now? Do you know?
What was,
Yes,
Jen's taken over.
yes, okay, that's fine, because normally,
And Caleb,
I'll talk to Jen. Normally there's communication in advance instead of, but that's fine.
it was a little hazy for her.
Yeah, yep, yep.
It's in the Great Hall in Milfoil. Do you go?
That's the joint board meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's, yeah.
Steve Wingate?
Steve is on it,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
That's when we're opening bids. Yep.
What's the next order of business for us, gentlemen? Okay.
All right, we'll do it later. We'll do it in a. Okay. All right, yeah, we would just. Whether it's on here is okay.
1.3 cost of living and 2% merit increase.
No, that's all right. We'll do it on. Okay, thanks. Yeah, if you have any problems. All right, thanks, chief. We haven't done that yet.
Okay,
We'll have it for Monday's meeting. That's okay.
yep.
So these are 2%. Is it appropriately discussing the first line with the secretary? Is it appropriate to be talking about Diane with her here?
Yeah. It's gotta be.
We're going to talk about, I think it is. We're going to talk about the first line. Does it need to be a non-public?
No. We're not going to talk about people. We're going to talk about budget line. So I don't think so.
And is it okay with the secretary here?
Sure.
If we're talking about Diane?
Yep.
Okay. It'd be appropriate to ask her if she's comfortable with us talking about it openly with her here.
Jumping on to 14.
Yeah, sure, it wouldn't hurt.
Do you have an issue?
I'm sorry?
Do you have an issue being here when we talk about this lot, these lines in this budget have to do with
That
pay?
is totally up to you guys. I wasn't asked about it or anything. So
Okay.
Okay,
it's-
I'm just being,
Yeah.
I'm just being courteous.
I appreciate it. If you would be more comfortable with me stepping away, I'm fine with it.
I understand that too. Okay.
3 is 2%, so that works.
Hmm?
Okay.
I'm not sure that I am, but we'll see.
This one's for 3. All right.
Okay. We're talking about executive budget 4130. Who wants to go first?
I'm not in agreement with item 1, administrative assistant, being at 14.7, grade 14, step 7. That, excuse me, is the equivalent of a 10% increase, which I think is kind of untenable. So I would recommend, she was making 2401, that we go to step grade 15. Step 7. Is it 6?
Now, we've already voted that effective January 1st, it was to be a certain step and grade, correct?
No, there's a COLA, 1 point,
We already got the COLA figured
1
out.
point, yeah, right.
So what this effectively does, she's looking for parity, which isn't going to happen.
Right.
But there would be a 5% increase, which if you take the 1.3% COLA out, it's up to 3.7%. All of these steps are 2% increases.
Yes.
So it's 2% increase.
Do you agree with leaving it in grade 14, but moving it back a couple of steps?
No,
No, I'm at 13.
Yeah.
I would do 14.
right. So you were saying 13.7?
13.7. I mean, do people think they all have to be in line 14?
No.
Job description.
We talked about it and agreed that both positions were on grade 14, but we can change.
Or do we decide we're going that direction? We're both going to be on 14.
Yes. So that would be grade 14, what, step 5 or something like that?
No. So
The first thing is, Bill, I made the comment to Chip while you were getting coffee. There are some municipalities that insist a fire chief and police chief have parity. And although the jobs are similar and it might be in the same building, they are not identical in function.
right.
35 is a 6% increase, which would be the equivalent of a 4.7% increase.
So grade 14, step 5?
Yep. It's like jumping 2 steps. I don't know. And how much resistance would be to What's the difference between 5 and 7?
4%.
$1.03. So it's like 35.
Yes.
So you're looking at a 4 or a 5?
What's that? I'm sorry.
A 4 or a 5?
I'm at 5.
What is that per hour?
Maybe 4 if we go back.
Uh,
25.47.
25.47 is the hourly rate.
Yeah.
25.47.
Yeah.
Times 35 times 52, correct?
Yeah, 47, 127.
46,355.
I must have done that wrong. So
What do you have?
46,355.
46,355. Yep.
So that would put the total budget for 4130, $114,289.
114 what?
114,289.
All right. I will move that 4130 and a total of 114,289.
A second.
Any further discussion?
It's a 7% increase.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Is what grade and step do you want?
All right.
Because I only heard the
Grade 14, step 5.
I heard the
And on Monday, are we going to have an executive session to tell her this?
Find out.
Okay.
And it's the equivalent of 2 steps.
Mhm.
That's what it is.
yeah, I got that.
And it goes here, not over here.
That's all the budget's for.
I had one other thing I wanted to mention.
Everything else is the same. Right. Thank you.
Oh, working hard. It's not a bad job. 47,000.
No,
Plus pennies. I'll tell you, if they make it any higher, that selectmen's budget's going up.
you got it.
Could I,
Question,
go ahead, do you have a question?
last week, we put before you guys this proclamation, and I never heard an answer on it, so I brought it along to you.
All right. We looked at it and we deferred acting on it. Yeah, that was
For the school,
School choice, yeah, I haven't,
It's a proclamation about what?
school choice, right? So I
no,
didn't,
you did
Family's already
defer.
made a
I don't
choice.
know, I missed
Yes,
that
we
whole
did.
section. I was on the phone calling
yep,
Diane at the time, so I know you deferred the one for the school funding, but I didn't know. So after election.
yeah, yep.
I have one thing I'd like to bring up. Is it appropriate for the selectmen to have a conversation with Chairman Young about the plans for crosswalk, the forestry donation, master plan status, and paving of driveway ordinance?
Okay, so, the forestry thing, that's not a planning board thing, and that's done.
Yep.
Right? Crosswalk, I'll ask for the next meeting about that. Master plan status is a work in progress. I mean, you're welcome to ask the question at any time. We're looking for somebody to, a new contractor to complete the work in a more comprehensive manner than what we're getting out of LRPC. What else was,
Driveway paving,
what about driveway paving?
that doesn't come under planning board ordinance.
Yes, and it was moved through the planning board to hearing. So the planning board will be having a hearing for zoning items for the warrant, and I don't know. That I think would be sometime next month.
Okay.
I'll try and get a handle on that and bring it back to this board.
Could I ask you a question about crosswalks? I think it's nice that we received the donation. I've walked it with some,
What donation?
isn't the crosswalk a $21,000 donation by a private citizen?
What I am aware of on the crosswalk, the last conversation that I was aware of is that the store owner there was interested in making that happen and was working to get all of the requirements met.
Eventually, it involves the town because we're responsible for maintenance, right?
As I remember from earlier conversations with the state, the only way a crosswalk goes in is with a signed agreement with the town. I haven't seen anything brought to our attention, directed to us with respect to actually doing a crosswalk, other than the ongoing conversation about it.
Now, one of the things that I did with a neighbor is I went up to the top of the hill.
Yeah.
And I looked at the visibility of the signs. There's trees, the branches are down. There's a couple trees that cover over no parking signs. And I was wondering where we might get a gift of a crosswalk. Does it make sense to, at the same time, make that intersection as visible as possible? Because I can get a quote from a tree company.
No, I think that's part of the crosswalk deal. If the state's happy with what's there and going forward to do it, and, you know, they put a lot of conditions on where it's located and all this, that, and the other. I mean, I think it's be part of the conversation, but in terms of launching into doing tree work along there, at this point, it seems to me like that's premature.
All I was going to do was get an estimate.
Yeah, well, that's, I'm sure, I mean, that's fine, but
Any other business to come before the board? Oh, no, I haven't finished,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you-
We
we have updates.
approved the cell tower contract.
No, we haven't gotten well, you want to do one or you want to do both of them? Because we haven't got the input back from the fire chief yet.
3:15 on Tuesday.
Yeah,
You told him we'd be here Tuesday. Did you call him?
About what? I called him, he hasn't had a chance to review it.
did we tell him we were going to act on it today?
Yesterday.
Well, if, I didn't remember that. If we told him that we were going to do it today, then I'd say, let's do it.
It doesn't go across his property anymore. The easements don't.
Well,
The only concern the fire department has in talking with the guys there is how do we guarantee that there can be cell phone service at the
Well,
fire
they have
station? There
They
isn't.
have language in there about.
Shadow.
yeah.
They only do technology.
Okay, any other
Oh,
updates?
you tabling it to Monday?
Yes.
I'm happy to move it. I didn't think it was such a big deal to look at the drawing and say, yeah, it's fine.
What do you want to
I
do?
don't,
I mean, we can vote to accept it. Adam's got some major issue with it. We can always, I mean, we're just sending it back to the attorney. He's going to submit it sometime to Verizon. I hate to languish around on it.
yep,
Something that would be nice to do.
it's been,
Will you make a motion?
I'll move that we approve the leases for cell tower sites at the highway garage and behind the central fire station.
Yeah, I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Any updates?
Since yesterday?
Any updates for you?
No, not since yesterday.
Anything else to add?
I watched the Vuelta España, great bicycle race.
What's that?
Vuelta, it's a 21-day stage race in
Oh, yeah,
Spain,
yeah,
November in the Pyrenees.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
so move.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nice job, guys. Nice job. I figured it'd be a longer day.
Well, we covered a bunch of stuff.
This conference will now be recorded.
Somebody is probably